Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our Anchorage Ice Tigers draft to glory MyNBA here in NBA 2K26. I first want to apologize, this episode is going up a little bit late because I am actually recording this the day the episode goes up. Main reason why episodes and videos have been kind of late a little bit as of late is because the Olympics being on. I've just been really soaked into them, of course, so I haven't been recording as fast as I can, but obviously I'm trying to record here technically in the intermission of the first Olympic men's hockey game, so just a little heads up on that. But anyways, if you didn't catch the last episode, we took on the San Antonio Spurs in the second round. I thought it was going to be a tougher series for us than the first round, but it was actually easier because we managed to win in a 4-game sweep, and we have found ourselves back in the conference finals once again. Not really a surprise on that, and we are going to be going up against the 7th seeded Minnesota Timberwolves. Now, what's interesting about them is they've actually knocked out some pretty damn good teams. As you can see, they knocked out the 2nd-seeded Dallas Mavericks, the 3rd-seeded LA Lakers, and now they look to take out us in the 1st seed. Obviously, if we win this series, though, we will be going to a finals against a team we've already played before, which it was Philadelphia last year, Washington the year before that. So, will be interesting to see if we do get to the finals, if we're going to take on the team that we played last year, or if it's going to be the team the year before. But I think we have a really good chance of getting back to the finals again, of course, just because Minnesota seems like right now a little bit of a team of dynasty, because obviously they went through a bunch of teams. They were actually a play-in round team, and you could see that they beat Memphis, and that's how they end up getting into the playoffs to begin with. And then, like I said, they knocked out some really good seeded teams before playing us. But I think obviously we're a lot different of a team than the Lakers and the Dallas Mavericks, that I think we should be easily still able to beat them. But if we lose to them, it's probably just the game, obviously trying to limit our championships, because we've won 3 in a row at this point. We're looking still for a 4th, of course, and I think this team has still been doing really, really well despite obviously the injury to Rex Wright, who won't be back probably still till, I would assume, next round, but maybe he appears back in this round at some point. But I hope that he is healthy when he does return and he doesn't get re-injured again. But you can see a lot of fire on our starting rotation, which is great. So a lot of players are playing really good, and obviously Rex being hurt still kind of sucks, but he's been watching from the press box, maybe giving the team a little bit of motivation to win games. Last year also, when we played in the playoffs, he was injured too, so it's in a tough time for him, but at the same time, he's still been on these teams, and I hope that we can get him another championship, because like I said, there's a good chance that we might end up starting to let people like him go eventually and come next off season or something like that. Not like the upcoming one, but the off season after that. There's a good chance that we might start to change things up a little bit, just because we win so many championships, that we might have to let go of some old players eventually at some point in time. So anyways, with that said, let's get you guys' comments, what you guys have to say about last episode, and then we'll look again at Minnesota's lineup, and then we'll see what we're able to do against them in this conference finals. So the first and only comment is from the Real Divinity, who says Ice Tigers are inevitable, go Ice Tigers. And yeah, right now this team has been absolutely insane the last few years. Like I said, we obviously are coming off a 3-peat, but then we just came off our best season in regular season history, which is pretty insane. And so far in the playoffs, we only have 1 loss up to this conference finals. So our team has been historically good, and it's insane how good this roster kind of has been over these last 4 years, and how they could even get better after winning so many championships. So excited to see what we could do in this conference finals, and then hopefully when we get to the finals again, because I'm hoping that's likely the case, hopefully we could beat one of those 2 teams again. Obviously Philly and Washington are both very strong teams, but I think we still should be probably stronger than them for the most part in everything. So anyways, let's take a look at Minnesota again, because I honestly don't really remember what their roster looks like. Once again, their strengths and weaknesses, as you can see, vertical is a weakness, ball handling and steals, but they do have defensive IQ, blocks and rebounding is a strength, so they are a very strong defensive team. So that's one thing, but I feel like our offense is so good that it might be tough for them to contain it still. Then from a player's perspective, this is what their team looks like. You can see, obviously, Dillingham's only an 82, but Edwards is back. Last time when we played them in the playoffs, I'm pretty sure he was hurt, so it's been a bit since we played him. They have Nikita Alanchev, Asa Newell, Lothar Klein, and Clay Caver. So not necessarily the craziest top 6 players, but obviously Anthony Edwards could really do well in a playoff scenario. They have some decent bench options. You can see like Asar Thompson. They have Missy still. Missy was, I think, on New Orleans last time we played against him in the playoffs. They have Chucky Mason. And then it drops off a lot to these type of guys. So I think we should have the upper hand for the most part. But obviously it depends on what the sim engine wants to do for us, which right now, as long as we don't suffer any major losses to injury on our team, I think we should be able to beat them quite convincingly too. So with that said, I think we're ready to get into this matchup and see what we could do in a conference finals again. Hopefully, Anthony Edwards is not a difference maker for the Timberwolves, because that's how I could see them winning maybe some games. And also, if their defensive play also lets up from the regular season, because they've been, like I said, a really good defensive team. And obviously, we've been more of an offensive team. We've been allowing a lot of points against. So that's one area that we need to clean up, is playing better defensively. But as long as we're going to outscore our problems, we should be in a good spot. So anyways, let's get to this first game and see if we could get off to a good start here. Actually, let me go rebuild rotations. I think I already did that at the end of last episode, but I do not remember. So I'm just going to go rebuild rotations and get the coach to adjust the minutes as much as he wants, just because that kind of helps with things a bit. So let's go simulate with Simcast. And of course, we're going to always simulate the other matchup. So let's see what we could do here. Hopefully we can get off to a good start, and hopefully they aren't as tough as they look. Because like I said, they've knocked out some really good teams, so that's a little bit nerve-wracking that they can knock out 2 top 3 seeded teams. But like I said, we are kind of a cut above those 2 and 3 seeded teams too. So I think this should be definitely their toughest task yet. Anyways, first quarter underway. Let's see if we could get off to a good start here. So far, a little bit of a slow offensive start for both teams, but looks like we're starting to pick up our offense a little bit. But if Minnesota plays really good defensively against us, then that's going to be definitely making our points per game go down a bit. But also maybe it'll help us play a bit better of a defensive game too, because maybe they're not super offensive and they won't be able to run away with games like some of the other teams we've played with before, or played against, I should say. And at the end of the first quarter, it's going to be a tie game. Damn, 25-25. That is a pretty low scoring first quarter, not going to lie. But at least it's even. But we did have a bigger lead, and then they kind of went on a little bit of a run. Evans already has 11 points through 10 minutes, which is insane. So he's definitely done great work. Semenko's on 9 points. So 20 of our points are from 2 guys. We definitely need a lot more people to step up here, because Carroll's on 3 points. Goodwin is on 2. And it looks like we are getting into a little bit of foul trouble with a couple guys early, which is not necessarily ideal, because if we sort by fouls on this team, we have 2 guys already on 2 fouls, and we already have like 4 guys on 1 foul. So we kind of need to be a little bit better going forward with that. That has been a bit of a problem in the past, is how many times we foul people. So let's play a little bit more disciplined as this game goes on. But let's see if we could get our offense going again, because like I said, it's been a little bit quiet these last few minutes. Second quarter underway. Can we get a lead into halftime? Because that would be kind of nice. Obviously, since we're on a home court as well, we want to kind of play as good as we can, because they're also going to need to win games in Minnesota. And probably winning games in Minnesota should be tougher than winning games on home court for us. But at the same time, we are a type of team that we can literally do good wherever we play. Like, we could literally be playing on like a backstreet court and we'd still be doing well. So this team is awesome. Definitely a low scoring start to this game by comparison to some of the other rounds that we played in earlier. And at the end of the first half, it's going to be a 56-53 lead. So we only have a lead by 3 points. Definitely still a close game. But it is good that we actually have a lead now and it's not tied. And so far, Evans has been fantastic. 17 points for him. We have Semenko on 11, so he dropped a couple more points. Carroll's up to 9, so he's starting to pick up his offense a bit. Bishop on 6. Looks like we're starting to get a little bit more of an offensive spread throughout our lineup. And we are still a little bit in foul trouble in a way, because Semenko's on 3 fouls at halftime. We have 3 guys on 2 fouls, including some bench guys like Lloyd and Washburn, and then a couple guys on 1 foul. So it's not the worst case scenario to be in for foul trouble, but obviously I don't really like taking fouls anyways. So I hope that we could play a little bit of a cleaner second half, because obviously if they're going to get trips to the free throw line, it's basically giving them free points, right? So let's anyway see what happens, see if we could have a good third quarter here, and hopefully we have a good second half of this game. Third quarter underway. Because we should be the type of team that completely routes a team like Minnesota, but so far most of this game has been pretty close. So it's a bit different than we've expected from some other teams, but like I said, Minnesota knocked out some really good teams for a reason. They definitely should be able to still play decently to us than if they play good to other teams, but we are definitely running away with it now offensively, because we're almost up by 20 points. We're doing a really good job keeping them to barely any points, and they're not a good offensive team, I guess, but 86-67, so we're up by 19 points at the end of the third quarter. That's a really good third quarter, 30-14. And like I said, if our team plays anything good defensively against them, we should easily be able to win. Like, we probably will keep them to under 100 points in this game, likely, I would assume at this rate. So far, Evans has dropped 29 points. He's still looking like that MVP that he's always been. Fantastic game for him so far. Only one foul as well. Semenko's on 17 points. We have Carroll on 11. Bishop on 9, including 10 rebounds. Washburn on 7 points. Westbrook's only on 5, but that's okay. Goodwin on 4. Bridges on 2. Lloyd on 2. And nothing from JT Warren. But looks like our foul trouble is not really trouble whatsoever anymore because we have 2 guys on 3 fouls going into the fourth quarter. I don't think these guys are going to hit 3 more fouls in that quarter, but they could. But for the most part, it looks like our foul trouble isn't really as bad as it was early in their game. So looking good. Evans is basically the difference in this game when you think about it almost. Like, without him, obviously, this game would be a lot closer. But let's see what happens in this fourth quarter, see if we lock this game down. But it should be pretty easy from here on out for us to win this game, it looks like, at this rate. But yeah, I'm hoping that obviously we continue to play good for the rest of the series. I think it should be pretty automatic that we're playing good, but at the same time, maybe our team takes a little bit of a step back. Maybe people get hurt. Looks like right now we're not really doing much offensively whatsoever in this fourth quarter. Barely any points for both teams. But we are going to win this game because we built up such a good lead before the fourth quarter. And we're going to end up winning by a final score of, what score is it? 109-88. So we win by 21 points. End up outscoring them 23-21 in that fourth quarter. So we won 3 of the 4 quarters. And obviously the first quarter was tied. But Evans, the big difference in the game, 33 points for him. He ended up taking 3 fouls all game. He had Semenko on 17 points with 4 fouls. He also had 7 rebounds and 6 assists, so almost a triple-double for Dennis. Bishop had a strong game on the glass, 14 points and 13 rebounds. Carroll on 13 points, 7 assists, so he was good at distributing as he normally does. Washburn, 12 points. Westbrook, 9. 7 for Goodwin, 2 for Bridges, 2 for Lloyd, and in Warren with nothing. But nobody on our team fouled out in that game, which is great. There was a couple guys that were close to it, but they didn't. So at least I think we're playing a little bit more disciplined than I thought, which is great. Looks like we had a good time on the glass from some people. Some people were really good at assisting. And then, of course, some people were really good at point production. Team comparison, we were shooting 52% to their 41%. They actually chucked up more shots than us, but they missed a lot more. 3-point percentage, our 3-point percentage was 41%. They were only 17%, so they were really rough on the 3-point percentage. Free throws, we were 92 to their 77, so we're just a better offensive team based on that. And then if we look at rebounding, they actually out-rebounded us offensively, but we out-rebounded them defensively. They had more steals than us, but we had more blocks. Definitely a little bit more of a tighter defensive matchup when you look at it on paper, but handing them a loss here early on is good to see. Hopefully we continue that into next series as well, or the next games as well, I should say. But technically, Minnesota's beaten every team they've played in 6 games. So if we manage to take like a 4-0 or 3-0 series lead, we might be the first team to actually be able to beat them before it hits to a Game 6 scenario. So let's go once again back to our coaching game plan and rebuild the rotations. This coach is really good. Rex is not fully healthy though. I don't want him in the lineup. Yeah, I don't want him in the lineup if he's still somewhat injured. He's been out for most of the year, so we're going to move him back down all the way to where... Actually, wait a sec. Let me readjust this here. I didn't know I was going to put him back in the lineup, to be honest. Who was the guy that was in this spot? Was it Washburn that was in that spot? Trying to remember. Maybe it was Dennis. Let me see. I need to make sure we don't play him yet. I just can't risk him getting injured again, because his career, like I said, is definitely on the free fall because of injuries. So we're going to move Rex down to here. And then I'm going to give, obviously, Washburn some more minutes. Let's give him like 25. Actually, maybe Goodwin was in that spot. Was Goodwin in that spot? Yeah, Goodwin was probably in that spot. So we'll give Goodwin and Washburn like good amount of minutes. Obviously, Goodwin's going to get more. So give Goodwin like 28 or something, 16 more minutes. Obviously, like I said, I'm moving Rex back out of the lineup again. I just can't risk him getting hurt. There's just no way around that. So I'll give Warren some more minutes, of course. Give him 8 minutes. Let's give Lloyd 8 minutes as well, I think. Yep. And we'll give Bridges 10 minutes. Washburn could get a couple more minutes. Semenko could get another minute. Let's just add a minute to most of these dudes, I guess. Actually, let's do 28 for Westbrook. There you go. That's better. And then, of course, like I said, we'll move Rex obviously all the way to the bottom of our depth chart just because, like I said, I cannot risk him getting re-injured. And I know I really want to play him, but still, it's not good to play him. It still says 1 to 2 weeks, so I know he's eager to get back into the lineup, but that's a good thing that he's at least very close to being back in the lineup. So maybe he'll be back for one of the next games coming up. Maybe he'll be back for the finals. But obviously right now we want to be precautionary with him because I just can't, like, if he blows out that knee again or his hip or whatever he has injury trouble with, he's going to have his career ended way faster than we initially anticipated. So let's keep the team the same for now. Rex is still going to be watching from the press box, but he's eager to get back into the lineup. Maybe he's not even watching from the press box. Maybe he's watching on court side. It would be nice to have him, like I said, in the lineup to help guarantee wins, but I don't want to risk his health. And I know that's kind of dumb to do that, but our team is so good that it doesn't really even matter if we keep a good player like him out of the lineup. So it's still saying to give less minutes to Warren, Goodwin, and to Washburn. But right now, I'm just doing it the way we want it to be because I just don't want anybody getting hurt again. So let's get in this first quarter and see if we could get off to a better offensive start than last game, because last game, the first quarter was pretty close. I'm not too sure if this game is going to be reminiscent of that too, but let's hope that we continue to show that we're definitely the better team. Because Minnesota's offense wasn't very good in that first game, so if we could start to rout them, then that'll obviously help us quite a bit because they're more of a defensive first team. And we saw that with their offensive rebounding in last game, so. All right, looks like it's going to be another close first quarter technically based on this. They take the lead late, and at the end of the first, they're actually going to have the lead 27-24. Not necessarily ideal to be trailing after the first quarter, but I trust this team to come back in games. Evans so far is once again the only guy that's picking up a ton of points after the first, so I feel like most of our team's asleep, and then Evans is like the captain on the roster, and he just takes it into his own hands. But off to a very, very good start again. Westbrook on 4, Warren on 2, same with Carroll and Goodwin and Bishop, so we are getting a little bit of depth scoring, which is good. Just not getting enough of it. Looks like Dennis only played 1 minute in that quarter, and he already has 2 fouls. So Dennis is a little bit risky with how he's playing right now. Hopefully he kind of sits back a little bit and doesn't like slash people's hands as much. I know he likes to steal the ball a bit, so maybe that's why, or block and all that. But he needs to be a bit careful because we can't have him foul all the time. So anyways, let's see what happens. Second quarter underway. Looks like we actually did get one more point at the end of that first quarter, but we should be able to grab that lead back quite easily here because, like I said, we're definitely the better offensive team. If they obviously contain our offense, that's when they could find ways to get leads, which is probably what happened in that first quarter. Let's be honest. All right, down to the final 5 minutes of this first half. Still a pretty low scoring series, it feels like, compared to like other series. I definitely feel like this is closer than the games against San Antonio in some ways. And at the end of the first half, it's going to be a score of, it looks like we're building up a little bit of a lead, 54-49. All right, that's not too bad. We outscored them 29-22. We built up a 5-point lead. I like that. So far, Evans still doing a lot of the work. 17 points for him. Everybody else is below 7, or 7 and below, I should say. Lloyd's got 7 through 8 minutes, and we have Goodwin and Westbrook on 6. Carroll's on 5. Bishop's on 4. Smenko's on 4. Bridges is on 2. Same with Warren. Washburn only on 1, surprisingly. But the only one that's in a little bit of foul trouble looks like Semenko. And a couple other guys are on 2, but Semenko's got 3 fouls so far. And obviously he needs to play still another 2 quarters, so we got to be careful with him. And hopefully the coach like maybe has him on the bench for a little bit of the first bit of the second half. But so far, team's playing good. Let's keep it up. Third quarter underway. Like I said, just build up a huge ass lead, and then, like I said, I don't expect him to really come back in games unless I guess Anthony Edwards kind of leads the charge for them, because he's like the type of player that would pick up like still close to 30 points per game, but they don't really have the scoring after him, so that's something that definitely makes us a better team, I feel like, is that depth on our roster. As we are winding down this third quarter, we are up by a couple points still, as they are trying to get back into it looks like here late, and at the end of the third, it is going to be a score of 83-79. They actually outscored us in that quarter, so it is only a 4-point game. It is still very tight. They are definitely containing our offense better than some teams, but we are still on pace to hit over 100 points. They're definitely playing a better offensive game than they did in the last one. So far, Evans, oh man, Evans is in foul trouble. That's why this game is close again. So Evans has 25 points, which is fantastic, but he is one foul away from fouling out. So I really hope that the team could do good without him, because I'm assuming the coach is going to let him sit on the bench for at least half of this quarter, because you can't have a good guy like this foul out at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So hopefully Evans does not get into foul trouble anymore, but that was probably a really rough quarter for him in terms of defensive play. Carroll's on 16 points. He only has one foul, so he's been good. Westbrook's on 12 points with no foul. That's great. But afterwards drops off 7-6. Yeah, the depth scoring's not as good as it has been in the past. Like, I mean, everybody does have points, but Semenko obviously not having as strong of a game as last game. Bishop's been good on the glass, but his points are a little low. Goodwin's still having a little bit of a rough conference finals because he's been outscored by Lloyd. So far, Evans has been pretty much leading the charge for the most part, and that's why I said I cannot have him foul out here, or else that wouldn't be good. Semenko's still only on 3 fouls, so he probably won't foul out, but Evans likely will foul out before the end of this game. It's just all about if the coach can manage his playing time where he doesn't foul out in an early stage of the fourth quarter. So let's see what happens. Fourth quarter underway. Hopefully Evans stays in the rest of this game as much as possible. Because like I said, that's why Minnesota is keeping this game somewhat close, is because Evans is obviously going to be playing from the bench instead. Or, well, he won't be playing from the bench, but he'll be sitting on the bench and being a spectator in this one. As this game is still pretty much like a one-possession game as we wind this one down. It's only a one-point game. They take the lead. We tie it back up again, all right. 107 with 2:42 left. Oh, my goodness. Let's go down to a slow sim speed for this last 2:42. Come on, boys. Hopefully we get some good responses. It's 109 with 1:35 left. This could be an overtime type of game. But like I said, Evans is probably fouled out by this point. That's why this game is so tight. Let's see what happens here. We take the lead by 2 points. I like it. I like it. That's good. There's another good 2 points. All right, we're up by 4 with 1:05. That's 2 quick but good possessions. And now we're up by 5 with 41 seconds. 38 seconds. They're still trying to get back in this. We're up by 6 with 35 seconds. That might be too little too late, but it is still possible they could come back. It is a 4-point game with 15 seconds. 10 seconds, 1 second. I think we got this in the bag now at this point. Pretty much impossible. And the answer is yes. We went 119 to 115. We almost got caught because it looks like Evans must have fouled out early in the fourth quarter because he only finished with 25 points as well. So I'd assume he fouled out after like 1 minute of the fourth quarter or something, but still a 25-point game for him. Looks like Westbrook heated up 21 points, Carroll on 18. And then since Evans was fouled out, Goodwin got a little bit more playing time. Washburn got a little bit more, and both of them did really well in that fourth quarter. Semenko on 11 points too. Bishop on 9, 12, and 2. So even though our best player fouled out, we managed to hold on to the victory and win this one. Semenko was close to fouling out as well, but at least he was definitely a lot more disciplined in the second half than he was in the first. Team comparison, we shot 55% to their 47. Once again, they chucked up more shots than us, but they missed a lot more. They shot up 14 more shots, but had the same amount of hits as us. 3-point percentage, they're actually better than us at 3-pointers, 38 to 28. And in free throw percentage, we were 78, they were 73. So I guess their free throws made a difference in this game that they didn't hit a lot of them. But that game was definitely tighter than we expected, but we know that they are a good team. It looks like they out-rebounded us offensively again, but once again, we had better defensive rebounding. We had more steals than they did. We had more blocks than they did. And we apparently had more turnovers, though. So, yeah, definitely an interesting game. Not as good as the first game for us, but we have taken that 2-0 series lead, which is a great way to start it off in this round. I don't want to go rebuild rotations because they're also going to throw Rex back in again, so I'm going to keep it the exact same, I think, as last game. I'm going to have to manually adjust minutes, maybe. Let's see. So is it recommending anything more for certain people? It's still recommending minutes for Rex, of course, but we ain't letting him get injured again. I don't think I want to adjust anybody's minutes. I think I could just keep it the same and it should be fine for the most part. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to go with. So we're going to keep the team the same until Rex is basically back, so that way he's not thrown into the lineup while he's still kind of battling his injury a little bit. Let's get to game 3. See if we could take a 3-0 stranglehold on Minnesota. Looks like Philadelphia is up 2-0 right now on Washington, which means it could very well be a rematch of last year's final, potentially at this rate. Which makes a lot of sense because Philly was by far the best team in the East, if I remember right as well. So, anyways, let's see what happens. First quarter underway as we are now in Minnesota. Let's see if we could win on the road and build off a solid first 2 home games. Obviously, that last home game was not necessarily the best, but the first game was good. Just got into a bit of foul trouble, and that's why I think they actually end up keeping that game relatively close. All right, so far this game looks like points for points, so to speak, as we are trying to keep it as close as possible. But it is definitely a little bit more of an offensive first quarter, but it's still kind of lower scoring in past rounds, as we're going to be down 25-19 after the first. So we are down by 6 points, which is probably our worst first quarter of the series yet, but there is a lot of basketball left to go for us to get back to the lead, of course. So far, Westbrook's leading away, which is kind of surprising on 5 points. We have Washburn on 4, Semenko on 3, Carroll and Evans are on 2 apiece. Same goes with Warren, 1 for Bridges. Nothing from Goodwin, Bishop, or Lloyd yet, but not necessarily getting the high-end offense that we're used to from a player after the first quarter. Like, usually Evans is up at like 10 points or something by now, but obviously I know that he could come alive in the second half, and I expect him to really do that in the second quarter and beyond that as well. So let's see what happens. Second quarter underway. Can we get this game closer again than 6 points? The answer is yes, we're starting to make it closer again. It's still a couple possession game. We're trying to find that lead, of course. We know we're the better team, but I do think that they could win a game against us just because they beat 2 really good teams before us. So just not sure if it would be this game or next game if they do end up taking a game against us, as they almost have a 10-point lead on us. So far our offense has been limited quite a bit by their defensive strength, which is definitely a reason why they're in this predicament to begin with. And at the end of the first half, I should say, I was almost going to say the first quarter, it's going to be a 45-41 lead for them. We did outscore them in the second, which is good, but it's only a 4-point game. They do still have the lead, which isn't ideal, but at least it's a little bit closer. So far, Washburn leading the way on 10 points. Evans is on 8 points. Carroll and Westbrook on 5. Everybody else is 4 and below. So everybody on our team has points again, which is good, but there is a couple starters that should be doing a little bit more. Bishop, Goodwin, Semenko, Westbrook probably, even Carroll. Evans has been okay. Washburn being the team leader in points, not necessarily ideal, but it does show that we have some good bench options that we could turn to. So we are down by 4. If our starters start to come alive in the second half, then that's when we could win this game. So far, depth scoring's been good, but we haven't been getting that one guy stand out running away with points. So let's have a good second half here, and let's see if we could get our offense going a little bit better from a couple of those starters. Third quarter underway. Let's see if we could get that offense from our starters. Looks like we're starting to here early on, as this game is still airtight. I do expect us to get back that lead at some point, because I did see we had the lead briefly before they took it back again. But I would expect Evans is going to have a really good second half here. Like I said, he's probably the best player in the league right now. So if he get to do anything he does before this game, he could easily help us win a game randomly out of nowhere. So at the end of the third quarter, we're going to have a lead of 4 points. So that's a really good quarter, 35-27. And our team just needs to play a really good, strong fourth quarter, and we could win this. Look at that. Evans up to 17 points. Like I said, we'll call on him, and he'll literally do anything we want. Westbrook and Carroll on 11 points. Washburn's on 10, so it looks like we're getting a couple more points from other starters, which is also helping with the scoring a bit. So that's really good to see. But very good to see Evans now on 17 points. Obviously, it's nothing crazy for point totals, but he is definitely the type of guy that could literally move the needle from like almost losing the game to getting that lead and hopefully winning the game. So let's see what happens in the fourth quarter. See if we could get some more insurance, of course, and lock down this game 3. Let's continue to sim. But this game is still a very close game, so we got to be mindful of that as they do grab that lead back. So now we're in that back and forth type of territory. And now they're up by 4 points on us. That's just not ideal. Hopefully nobody's fouling out in this game, because that obviously could play a factor as well. 4-point game with 5 minutes left. Let's go down to a slow sim speed, even though that takes a little bit longer, just to make it a little bit more climactic here as we wind this game down. It's a 1-possession game all of a sudden. Now they're up by 2 possessions again, but once again, we're just basically matching them point for point, but we definitely need a stoppage on the defensive front as they're up by 5 with 2:15 left. Can we find a way to get this game somehow? We're down by 3 points only with 1:14. Oh, now they're up by 6 points. I feel like this one might be the loss. This might be the loss. We're down by 4 points with 50 seconds. 5 points, 6 points with 38. 6 points again. I was going to say 3 points, but 6 points with 18 seconds. Yeah, this is the loss, right? Yep. Unfortunately, Minnesota is going to hand us our first loss since the round against OKC as we lose 112 to 103. Apparently, the difference in the game was a guy named Caver on their team. That sucks, though, because definitely we had that lead going into fourth. We could have won it, but we didn't. And Minnesota shows why they knocked out some of the good teams before us. But that's our first loss in quite a while. Semenko dropped 19 points to lead the team. Evans didn't foul out, but he was close to it, and he dropped only 17 points. So a bit of a quiet fourth quarter for Evans, which is kind of surprising. Carroll and Bishop were both on 14 points. Westbrook was on 13. Washburn was on 10. Goodwin was even on 10. But for some reason, we did not find a way to win that one. It's probably because they keep chucking up more shots than us. Yeah, they shot 14 more shots than us in this game again. So I don't know why they're shooting more than us, but obviously that's something we got to limit. 3-point percentage, we were technically better at than they were. And free throws, we were better than they were. So the difference is they hit technically 9 more field goals than us because they chucked up a total of 14 more than us. So we got to start chucking up a bit more shots, in my opinion. They also rebounded us offensively and defensively, so that also would help things for them. They had more steals, more blocks, and they also had less turnovers. So that's an unfortunate game. Like I said, we could have won it, but unfortunately, our team just could not get it done in that fourth quarter. So we are back to being a 2-1 series only, which is kind of surprising. How close for our boy to be back here in right? Not yet. He should be close to being day-to-day, I think. Let me go to simulate with Simcast for a second, see if he's actually fully healthy. Yeah, no, he's not. Still says 1 to 2 weeks, so obviously we're not going to rush things a bit. All right. Well, that sucks to lose a game, but like I said, it's only one loss. We expected to lose probably at least one game against them because of the fact that they knocked out the Lakers and the Mavericks. Let's just not lose multiple against them, or else that's when they could definitely be a threat. So let's find a way to win this game. Philly's up 3-1 on Washington right now, so Philly is 1 win away from going back to the finals. So, yeah, we might have a rematch of last year if we do find a way to beat these Timberwolves. So, let's see what I could do here. First quarter, game 4. Let's find a way to win this on the road, and hopefully we could get off to a really good start offensively here because, like I said, their defensive strength is probably the reason why they've been able to knock out good teams and also keep games close with teams like us. Right now, we're off to a good start offensively, which means it's going to be tougher and tougher for them to come back in games like this. But it is still close now. All of a sudden, it's only a couple point possession game. We're only in the first quarter. I can't get too far ahead of myself here, but at least we're off to a good offensive start compared to some of the other games we've had before this one, as we're going to be up by a score of 33-21 after the first quarter. So that's definitely our strongest first quarter of this round against Minnesota. We're up by 12 points. Love to see that so far. In terms of point production, Evans has already got 9 points through 9 minutes. He's been fantastic. Carroll's on 7. That's what I want to see. And then we got a bunch of guys on 4 and below. So looks like we're getting that depth scoring going early. We do need a little bit more out of Westbrook maybe and Washburn. But aside from that, looks like a pretty damn good first quarter. Let's see what happens in the second quarter and see if we could have a good lead going into halftime. Second quarter underway. But, yeah, as long as we don't play like last game where it's basically tight for the most part, we should be able to win games. Like, we're up by 20 points right now here in the early going, which is great. But obviously, we can't sit back too long or we can't let them get a bunch of stoppages because then they could obviously get points on the back end. So, looks like we're still doing pretty good at managing to get points when they do get points. But like I said, I don't know why they chuck up a lot more shots than us so far in these games. So hopefully our team starts to shoot the ball a little bit more instead of just passing it around as much as they were. But we're going to be up by almost 20 points at halftime, 62-44. So 18-point lead as we outscored them 29-23 in that second. So another solid start to this game. So far, Evans is on 16 points, only 1 foul, so I don't think he'll foul out this game, but he's looking good early on. Carroll's on 14 points. Everybody else is below 6 and below, which is not ideal, but we are getting still, like most people, on at least 3 points, which is really good. So the depth scoring, like I said, is there, but we need some more point production to help out with Evans and Carroll, because right now they've combined for half of our points almost through the first half of the game. So Let's anyway see what happens in the third quarter. See if we can continue to play good like this and keep that 20-point or so gap in our possession. Third quarter underway. But yeah, this is probably our strongest game so far of this round, I'd say, up to this point. Because a lot of the other games have definitely been not as entertaining, but this one looks like at least our offensive game is kind of coming alive a little bit, which I like to see. Because obviously that's when we could take over games and win series quite easily, is when our offensive game is on point and we're not fouling out consistently too. So looks like at the end of the third quarter, we're going to have quite a big lead. Oh my goodness, we're building up a monster lead. This is more like it was against San Antonio. As we're up by 31 points going into the fourth quarter, we outscored them 29-16. Great defensive quarter and solid offense as well. Evans is on 24 points. Carroll's on 17. Semenko's on 15. That's much better in terms of depth scoring. Everybody else is 8 and below, but like I said, the depth scoring has been really good in this game. We've already had Bishop foul out, though, so that's a little bit interesting because I guess technically Westbrook would be playing center in his position then. But yeah, Bishop already fouls out after 17 minutes only of playing time. Semenko is close to fouling out too, but yeah, Bishop definitely has a weak game for him in terms of that, but hopefully we could get some good rebounding from Westbrook, and that could help us lock down this game. He should be pretty easy because we're up by 31, but at the same time, not liking when guys foul out. Anyways, let's see what happens. Fourth quarter underway. We should have this game in the bag. But it's kind of weird that, like I said, that Bishop fouled out because he did foul out like last year, I think, a couple times against some people. But it's kind of weird having your center foul out and having to rely on a guy that's technically not a center by default position. Because Westbrook is a power forward / center. So he does play center, but he doesn't play it very often. So this game is not as blown open as it was earlier, but looks like we're still at least managing them to hold on to a decent chunk of lead. I don't know how much points we won by, but I guess that would be 23 points, I think, or 33 points. Maybe we did. I don't even know. Maybe it was less than 33. I don't even know the math, man. But anyways, a very solid game. They outscored us in that fourth quarter 28-20. We knew they were going to push a little bit harder, but we do end up getting that 3-1 series lead, which is very important at this point. And Evans ended up dropping 28 points. Semenko drops 21. Carroll drops 19, and we had Washburn and Westbrook on 11. Goodwin on 8. Of course, Bishop on the 6 through 17 minutes before he fouled out. Warren on 4. Lloyd on 3. And Bridges with nothing. But only one guy fouled out in that game, and was Bishop. Semenko was close. Same with Westbrook. But we get it done. And Evans is easily going to end up being our playoff MVP again, I think, at this rate in time, just because he's been so good consistently. Team comparison so far, or after this game, I should say, 48% to their 38%. We actually shot more than they did by a little bit in this game, and we were much better in terms of success rate, of course. 3-point percentage, we were much better at than they, 40-21. And in free throws, we were better 77-74. So all around, we were better at them than most things. They still out-rebounded us offensively, but we out-rebounded them defensively, even with Bishop fouling out. So that's kind of impressive. We did have more steals, more blocks, and they had more turnovers. All right. Well, we have a 3-1 series lead. It might be a rematch, like I said, of last year, which is kind of exactly what I expected in a way. But obviously, Philadelphia is going to be definitely mad at losing to us last year because they still want to be technically a dynasty. Technically, we've won 3 championships in a row. Before that, though, they won 2 in a row, and then they lost, I think, early, if I remember right. Oh, no, 2 in a row, and then how did it go exactly? I can't remember exactly when they won their championships. But I think, yeah, they won 2 in a row, and then we won 3 in a row. And they were trying to go back for a 3rd championship within a span of 5 years last year, but they lost to us. So technically, we're more of a dynasty than they are at this point, but it's still going to be a really good matchup if that ends up being the case. So anyways, I think we are good to keep our lineup the same. Nobody got hurt in that game, which is good. So we're going to keep the team the same, like I said, for now, just because I want Rex obviously fully healthy. I am going to lower the minutes a little bit on a couple of guys just because some of them already have their batteries depleted a bit. So I'm going to just lower the minutes a bit so they don't get maybe hurt or anything. And I will give a little bit more minutes to some of the bench options, I guess. Like we could give Anderson even some playing time if we want to. Give Bowman a couple minutes too while we wait for Rex to return from his injury. So we'll do that. And let's see if this team can pull off the win and maybe go to a finals once again against the 76ers, because I'd assume, no, that's not the case yet. Washington's trying to keep it alive as they forced a Game 6. Interesting. All right, well, let's see what we could do here. See if we could be the first team to go to the finals. Like I said, if we win, this will be 4 straight years in the NBA Finals, which is pretty insane. So, real-time sim, we're on home court. Let's see what we could do. And if we could build up a big lead early on, it should be pretty easy for us to win this game. But so far, it looks like we're starting off on a very strong defensive and offensive start here, as it takes quite a while for them to get their first 3 points of the game. This is more what I was expecting from our team, because how we played against the Spurs, but we are absolutely cruising in this first quarter, but now they're starting to go on a little bit of a run here later. But it looks like we are going to build up a very solid lead after the first quarter alone, kind of like last game. We're up by 20 points already, 31-11. They only had like 6 points in like the first, I think it was like 7 minutes of the quarter. So very good defensive play early on, which means we're not fouling a lot probably. So far, Evans has already got 11 points. He literally has as much points as the Timberwolves after the first quarter. Goodwin's on 4. We have Washburn on 4 and a couple of guys on 2. Or actually, everybody on our team has points, except for Bridges and Lloyd. Bowman dropped 2 points in 1 minute so far since being put in the lineup. And who was the other guy I put in the lineup again? Was it Anderson? Yeah, Anderson has not played any minutes so far, but obviously he should be getting some playing time with this big lead. Anyway, so far so good. Let's keep it going. Second quarter underway, but looks like we're playing a really strong game here, and we know that we can't really give them anything, and we should be able to easily win these type of games. But their offense is definitely starting to pick it up a little bit, which is a bit scary at times, but I do expect our team to still be able to hold them off. It's only a 10-point game all of a sudden. Oh boy, they might be actually coming back. They're outperforming us drastically in this quarter. They're doing what we did to them last quarter. 27-13 with 3 minutes and 58 seconds left. We might be fouling a ton here. Oh boy, it's only a 4-point game. Are you kidding me? I was not expecting this. I was not expecting this when we got off to that good of a start. I didn't know EA made this game or something like that, because I've seen it in EA sim engines where you're up like 5-0, all of a sudden it's like a 6-5 loss or something, but I've never seen it in 2K so far, as they've taken their first lead of the night. Are you kidding me? We're going to have to lead still after halftime, which is good, or at the beginning of halftime, but it's all of a sudden a 1-point game. And it looked like it was going to be a pretty easy win for us because we were up by 20 points. But all of a sudden, this game is back to being a very even game. What the hell's happening? Oh boy. Evans on 13 points. 5 rebounds already. Jeez. Carroll 9 points. Goodwin 6. A bunch of guys on 4. But our depth scoring isn't doing as much as it has done in the past. So that's probably why. But yeah, that was a disastrous quarter. That might be one of the worst quarters this team's ever had, to be honest. But all of a sudden, it's a 1-point game. I don't know what to expect from the second half, because first quarter, we destroyed them. Second quarter, they destroyed us by almost 20 points. How the heck is this third and this fourth quarter going to be? Who knows? But let's find out, and let's hope that we could go back on a good 20-run tear or something like that. Third quarter underway. That was a really weird quarter. Really, really weird. Because do you guys ever expect to blow a lead that much when you're up by that much? Because that's quite insane. Looks like we're going to have a close rest of this game potentially, unless one team starts to run away with it. Like right now, we're trying to build up a 10-point lead again. So I like that our team has a little bit of resiliency to them, because obviously that was a disastrous quarter and they knew it. They took it to heart, because now we're building up a really good lead again here. We're almost up by 20 points of our own again. What is this game? This is one of the weirdest sim games I've seen, and now they're back with intent. This is one of the weirdest games we've seen. We're up by 12 points going into the fourth quarter. We outscored them 38-27. We're in a pretty good spot, but obviously if they have a fourth quarter like they did that second quarter, that's when they could easily win this type of game. But this has been really crazy so far. Evans is on 21 points to lead us, 9 rebounds and 7 assists. He's got 4 fouls as well, so we got to watch out on that. Carroll 16 points, Goodwin 13, Washburn's on 9. Looks like we're getting our depth scoring going, which is good, but we are still only up by 12 points, which is still kind of close. So just don't let them do what they did in that second quarter. Just don't let them do it. And if we have a chance to win, of course, we're going to jump in and watch at the same time. So let's continue to sim here. And if we could get some points off the hop, we should be in a good spot. But let's make sure we're still playing some good defensive basketball too. Can't let them to get back into this game as it's now a single-digit game. Oh my goodness, it's a 6-point game. This game is really scary, man. I didn't expect it to be like this at all early on. But we have over a 10-point lead again with 5 minutes to go. We might be in a decent enough spot, but they're still going to be close to us with 4:47 left. We're up by 10. We're up by 7. You got to be careful here, boys. We're up by 7 still. Up by 6 with 3:33 left. Ew, that's kind of scary. Still getting points, which is good. Yeah, okay, we're almost up by 10 again. Now we're up by 10 again with 2:38. We might be in a good spot by now, but let's jump in with 2:38 left. Might as well watch a little bit more than normal. And we'll see if our team's able to lock it down, because that would be kind of nice if we are able to. All right, here we go. Let's switch over, of course, because we never play these games. Just in case you are new to this series, we never play games. We just always watched AI, but let's see what we got here. We're up by 10 points with 2:36 left. As long as we get some good defensive stoppages, we should be good, but obviously they still could go on a little bit of a run here, so we got to be careful on that. It looks like Minnesota is passing around the ball quite well here. Anthony Edwards in tied to Caver, and he puts up a 2. Makes this an 8-point game with 2:16 left. So let's make sure we just get that right back here, boys. Take your time. You have a lot of time on the shot clock, so don't need to rush it. Carroll will drive in with it. Carroll looking for an open man, maybe. There's the pick. Carroll will find his opening, throws a pass into Bishop, and he puts it up and gets 2 points right back. That's nice. Carroll's that type of player. He usually goes for the assist, I feel like, more than the shot. And it looked like he was going to go for a 3-pointer, but then he saw the open man and decided to change it up a bit. All right, well, it's good that we responded right away because we might be able to win this because of that. And Anthony Edwards can't get the 3. Semenko to rebound. That might do it at this point. Semenko throws it in to Evans. Evans back to Semenko. Semenko digs it out to Carroll. Carroll looking around. Carroll holding on to it. Gets into the paint. He lost control of it. That's unfortunate. As, yeah, we know that Minnesota's a good defensive team, so that's probably why. Caver throws it out to Anthony Edwards. Edwards throws it back. Alanchev can't shoot it. Caver, they just keep passing it around like crazy. Caver drives in with it. They're big man, and he'll put it up for another 2 points. I can see why he was good against us in that one game. Seems like he's always good against the glass and stuff. Washburn throws it over to Carroll. Carroll, take as much time as you need. We're still up by a good chunk here, boy. Carroll throws up a 3, and he will not hit it. That's an unfortunate miss. But we are still up by a good amount. As long as we don't give up a 3-pointer, we should be fine. Here's Edwards. Throws it over to Mason. Mason will shoot a 3, and he'll actually hit it. We're only up by 5 with 44.4 seconds. We got to be careful here, boys. They're going to have to intentionally foul us soon, I would assume. Here's Washburn. I think it said. Over to Evans. Evans throws it in, and he gets it the fall. Let's go. That's a big one. Evans is always really good in that tight space in like the front, like in the key. And he makes a great play there. Very nice play. Let's go. That is a big 2 points at this point in time. Looks like Edwards is sad because he knows his team's going to probably be getting knocked out here in the conference finals after they knocked out some really good teams before us. But our ability must be a tough arena to play. It looks like at least we got a sellout game, so makes sense. And like we could be getting Rex back for the finals, which is pretty insane. Like I wonder how he's going to impact the team too. And hopefully, like I said, he could stay healthy when he's actually back in the lineup. All right, here we go. 33.3 seconds. They're going to need points as fast as possible, so they're going to probably chuck up some random garbage. But Thompson finds Alanchev. Alanchev back to Saraf. Saraf for 3. He will not hit it. Big rebound by Bishop. They aren't going to foul because they know that that is too late. Crazy pass up to Goodwin, and he's going to just go in and get a chance. I don't know why we even threw it up that fast, but we are going to win this game, and we're going to be going to our 4th straight NBA Finals as Edwards will shoot a 3 with 6.4 seconds. Not really enough time for them to get more points, but we are going to be going to another NBA Finals. They do intentionally foul as Saraf takes his first personal foul, 15 foul with 4.2. I don't know if it's going to put us to the line or not, but oh yeah, I guess it is. Yeah, I don't know why they're intentionally fouling at this point. I guess they're only down by 4, so it makes sense because they definitely still think they could maybe get back into this, but it's quite late. Like 4 points in 4 minutes, that's still quite tough to do. Carroll will shoot, and he'll hit the first one. That puts us up by 5. And if he gets a second, they'll need multiple three-pointers to win this game, basically. And he'll hit the second. Let's go. We're up by 6, which means they need 2 three-pointers in a span of 4.2 seconds. Likely not going to happen. And like I said, we're going to be probably going to our 4th straight NBA Finals, where who knows who we're going to match up with. It could be still Philadelphia, of course, but it could also be Washington if they manage to come back and force a Game 7. But regardless, we know what we're going to be going up against whoever we play against. But I don't know if their rosters changed over the years too, because Philadelphia could have changed since last year. Washington could have changed since the year before that. But this team is unbeatable. And Edwards will shoot up another 3. He'll hit it. That's surprising. We're only up by 4 with 1.1. I'm glad at least we got some insurance points, because or else they would have tied this game up. And there it is. Your Anchorage Ice Tigers are going back to the finals. Look at those people with the cameras running through. That's actually kind of funny looking. But there we go. Back to the finals. The Timberwolves eliminated in the conference finals. Once again, we're the Western Conference champions, which means Evans is once again going to get another MVP award. I'm pretty sure on that, because he was definitely the most consistent player for us every single game of the series. And he's just continuing to add to a Hall of Fame career. There it is. Yep, we knew that was going to come. Let's go. Come on, boys. Hopefully we can win in the finals again, win our 4th straight. And then maybe we'll go for 5. Who knows? Who knows at this point? We're just beating everybody. But a big win. All that confetti falling on the ground. I feel bad whoever has to clean that up. But a big win for the team. Let's take a look at the box score. Evans dropped 23 points and 10 rebounds, 7 assists, 2 steals as well. Carroll on 18 points. We had Goodwin on 17. Bishop on 17. Semenko on 11. Washburn on 11. Westbrook on 8. So just some really good depth scoring. You love to see it. And like I said, we might be getting Rex Wright to add to this lineup back in the finals. And then there's their stats, just in case you guys were curious on who was doing a lot of work for them in that one. All right, that was a pretty crazy game. Not gonna lie, we destroyed them in the first. They destroyed us in the second. We played good enough in the third. And then that 4th quarter was kind of tight. So kind of a crazy series, but we got it done. And we will be going back to the finals. Let's take a look at our player stats before we see who we end up having to face off against. But so far, our player stats here in the playoffs, it's been Evans with 27.4 points per game, Westbrook on 18.6, Semenko on 17.6, Carroll on 14.4, Goodwin on 14, Bishop on 13. Yeah, it's been just a really good effort from all of our top players basically on the roster. And then a couple of bench options have not been that bad too when they played a little bit, so shout out to those guys. So far, in terms of rebounding, obviously it's going to be Bishop mainly, but we're also getting a bunch of guys on like 5 rebounds, which is good. Assists per game, it's obviously going to be always Carroll that's leading the way. Steals right now, Evans is over 2 steals per game. Blocks right now, it's Bishop on 2 blocks per game. So we're getting a lot of different good things right now. Love to see it. All right, so the question is it going to be Philly or Washington in the finals? If Philly wins this next game, they eliminate Washington. If Washington wins, they go to a Game 7. Let's see what happens. The answer will be Philadelphia. We're going to have a rematch of last year. I'm curious on if their roster's changed since, but once again, Evans, the Western Conference MVP, and it's VJ Edgecombe for the 76ers. Having a rematch of last year is fun. It's a little scary because we know they're a good team, but damn, a rematch again. A rematch again. Let's do a regular season. Actually, do I need to take a look at the regular season? Let's see what they did during the regular season compared to us, and so far how they've simulated in the playoffs without looking at their roster. But if we look to standings here and go to the entire league, here's the comparison. You can see we were the best team in the league. They were the second best team in the league, but we were still 17 more wins than they were. That's insane. That's insane. We were averaging 126.8 during the season. They were averaging only 112.6. But you could see defensively they allowed 4 points less per game than us. So they're still a good defensive team. But our offense completely smokes them out of the water still. At least in terms of regular season. So far during the playoffs, if we look at the team stats, you can see both of us are 12-2 going into this round. We're averaging still around 5 points per game more than them, but they're allowing 6 points against per game lower than us. So they technically have a better differential than us, which is kind of surprising, but it is very even based on that. Field goal percentage, we're by far better. We're shooting 53.5. They're shooting 48.8. 3-point percentage, they're a little bit better than us, 41.2 to 40.5. And in free throws, 81.8 for us, 89.6 for them. They're out rebounding us offensively, 16.2 to 12.8. And in defensive rebounds, 33.1 for us, 35.9 for them. Assists per game we're better at by 5 assists around a game. Steals per game we're a little bit better at. Blocks per game we're better at. But this is going to be a tight series. I think it could be even tougher than last year almost in a way. So I'm curious on how this one is going to run. Last year when we beat them, I think it was in 6 games. So going to be interesting. Looks like Rex is not fully healthy yet for the first game. Let me actually go to simulate with Simcast on this first game for a second here and see if it says anything. Oh, day-to-day now. It says day-to-day now. Oh, boy. Which means Rex literally will be in the lineup probably for like game 2 of the series at least, which is quite amazing. But let's take a look at what Philadelphia looks like this year compared to us, because I don't really know what their roster looks like, if it's changed since last season. Anyways, here we go. So, in terms of their stuff, their defensive IQ, 3-point shooting, and blocks are their strengths. Their weaknesses are vertical, steals, and agility. So they're not a really fast team. Then there's their staff, of course. This is how good they've been shooting in certain areas. But what does their roster look like again? So VJ Edgecombe, Jared McCain's in the lineup this time around. Last year he was injured for them. So that could be a big difference maker. Obviously in real life he got traded to OKC net by now. But yeah, that's pretty solid. They also have Stuart Macy, obviously really good still. Russ Harden's really good. Rabiu Nador, I'm pretty sure he was there last year for them, if I remember right. Yeah, he was. He's not a hugely good offensive player, but he'll rebound. They also have Burt Atkins. Was he there last year? Yeah, he was. Okay. Could not remember. JJ Gregory. He's new to them this season. All right. He's another rebounder that was brought in from Minnesota. I do remember him on Minnesota now that I think of it. Benedict Matherin's there. They also have Pacome Dadier. They also have Malivi McLeod, Terrell Cobb, DJ Kennedy, or Kennedy. Yeah, it might be pronounced Kennedy. I'm not too sure, though, on that. Willard Hayes, or Harris? Not Hayes. What am I saying? Michael Kerr, Anderson Bell, Giovinco Main is also there. So they don't really have the best bench options, but obviously that starting 6 is really, really good. It's definitely a lot better than teams like Minnesota, so I can see why they've won games and why they've been a strong team. Apparently we're listed as a rival of them, which is kind of cool because we beat them last year in the finals. So despite us being in different conferences, we kind of have a rivalry going with them. All right, let's go to team comparison page just for fun as well. But yeah, this is going to be a good series, I think, but it's still going to be a tough one, obviously, to try and defend our title. Obviously, they're trying to still find that 3rd championship too in the last 6 years, I guess, technically now. But you can see they have weaknesses. We don't. We both have good 3-point shooting. That's the only thing that's the same in terms of strengths. In terms of matchup report, we're excellent in everything. They're bad in the first 2, excellent in the rest. So kind of surprised that they're bad in perimeter defense and 3-point shooting and all that. But yes, they're more of a 2-point in the paint type of team. Projected lineup. Here's the projected lineups right now, but obviously Rex is going to be coming back for us, which will knock Goodwin back to being like the 6th or 7th guy on the team, I think, which is kind of insane. But you can see the comparison. Obviously, we have a better overall point guard. Small forward right now, which is also shooting guard technically. Jared McCain is a little bit worse than Goodwin. Yeah, technically, we have a better player in every position except for power forward. That's where Harden beats out Westbrook a bit. But you look at like the comparison, Jared McCain's averaging 25 points per game as an 86, which is kind of insane. So he's actually been really good despite a little bit of a lower overall. He's been outplayed by Evans so far. Assists per games right now, Carroll and Edgecombe are the same pretty much around. Rebounds per game, Bishop and Atkins are right around the same. Blocks per game, Bishop's a bit better than Atkins. And steals per game, Evans is very similar to Edgecombe. So that's pretty tight. Stat ranking looks like, if I'm not mistaken, they might have a lot more higher seeded things than us, but I don't really go through this comparison for that much. So just in case you guys want to look at that a little bit more. And then shot chart, obviously this is what we got for both teams in terms of their offensive grades. And then this is points that they've allowed against seems like we allow a lot of things from inside, just inside that 3-point line a little bit. There's same type of thing, but on the opposite side a bit. Most teams are not allowing 3-point shots out of these two teams, so I feel like this is going to be a really, really close series. It could be one of those games, series that go to 7 games, but last year when we played them, it was a bit easier than we anticipated. Maybe it's 5 games that we beat them in last year. I can't remember, but it's definitely going to be a tough series. But like I said, with Rex returning in the next few days, that's going to be absolutely huge for us if he could stay healthy, because this season, he was definitely not as good as he was a few years ago, but he's still a very good offensive player. He'll bring more assists to our team, some more stealing, a bit more rebounding as well. Like, he brings a lot to the table, and obviously, I'm really excited to have him back in the lineup when he does play, because his last game he played was quite a while ago. He last played a game, yeah, it was April the 7th, the last game of the regular season around, I think, against Washington. So he has not played in over a month. I guess technically by this point, it would be like closer to 2 months. So going to be really good to have him back, and I hope he can make an impact. So anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of Anchorage Ice Tigers Draft to Glory My NBA. So in next episode, we'll have a rematch in the NBA Finals as we take on the 76ers again, this time with Jared McCain in the lineup because he's actually not hurt, surprisingly. It's going to be quite the finals, I think, and hopefully we could pull off a four-peat. If we could pull off a four-peat, then I honestly think this team could literally win every single year. If the 76ers win, then they obviously get their third in 6 years, which is big for them too, so it's definitely going to be a survival of the fittest, so to speak. So let me know down below, and I'll see you guys next time.